November 2012, Sarah Cox, an Owensboro nanny and child care worker, is arrested. She's charged with more than 1,000 counts of child pornography. Her arrest sends shockwaves through the tri-state.
Just knowing that someone like that lives right across the street from me is extremely disturbing.
In May, Cox is allowed to leave jail under strict conditions. She quickly violates those conditions and a warrant is issued for her arrest. She and her girlfriend are found more than 1,000 miles away in a Denver, Colorado women's shelter. Cox is eventually taken into custody by Davis County authorities. Days before trial, Cox agrees to a plea deal, taking 18 years to avoid the maximum prison sentence of 20. In a handwritten letter, Cox petitions the judge for probation. She apologizes for running to Colorado, calling it a moment of panic.
She has demonstrated that she will not follow the orders of court.
But the damage is already done. The judge shows no mercy.
The sheriff of Davis County will deliver you to the Department of Corrections to continue service of your sentence.
Cox is shipped off to the state pen, but her story doesn't stop there. To understand it, you have to go back to the beginning. August 2009, near London, England. Sarah Cox enters a civil partnership with her lover, Charlotte Haydock. The following year, Charlotte is impregnated through artificial insemination, and in December, the couple welcomes a baby boy. But British documents obtained by Eyewitness News reveal Charlotte rushed the baby to the hospital just 1 month after he was born. Charlotte tells doctors Cox was changing the baby's diaper when she heard a click. Records show the child was irritable and not moving his leg. An X-ray of the infant paints a troubling picture of abuse. Records show doctors discovered bruising on the baby's forearms and multiple fractures in his left leg and ribs. Both parents are arrested on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm. Local authorities launch an investigation. Authorities zero in on Cox. They believe she alone is responsible. Cox tells them she didn't intentionally hurt her son, but investigators don't believe her. During court proceedings, Cox leaves the country, returning to her hometown of Owensboro, Kentucky. She never goes back.
Is this where Sarah Cox worked at one time?
July 2011. Now back in the States, Cox works her way into childcare. With few people aware of the child abuse allegations in England, Cox is able to work as a private nanny and daycare worker in the Owensboro area.
She was here for a very short period of time.
One of her employers is Kitty College.
We were wanting to talk to you just to see, for one, if a criminal background check was done. But
we do criminal background checks for every staff member that is hired.
The daycare director will not give a definitive answer as to whether a background check was done on Cox. Inspection records from the Kentucky Cabinet of Health and Family Services show the daycare has been cited on more than one occasion for not doing employee background checks. While it remains unknown if Cox got a background check, investigators say it wouldn't have mattered. She had no criminal history in the United States. Nearly a year after returning to America, Cox gives birth to a boy in Davis County. But social services takes the infant from her custody because of alleged physical abuse inflicted by Cox. Shortly after her baby is taken, Kentucky State Police start investigating Cox after her IP address is tied to a child pornography investigation. Law enforcement was shocked to discover a female behind the crimes. Cox is what they call a 1%er.
It's typically 99% male and 1% female. And that's when we realized, we have a 1%er right here in Owensboro.
Former Detective Jason Pagan was assigned to the case. He immediately started looking into Cox's background. Ironically, she was taking a law enforcement class at a community college.
Sometimes they try to learn the law to hide from it.
But the most disturbing moment was when authorities learned the woman accused of child exploitation was someone entrusted by many to care for their children. Detectives immediately stepped up their game, made an arrest, and issued a desperate plea to parents.
If anybody had contact with Ms. Cox, whether she was babysitting, or was she somewhat of a caregiver, nanny, whatever it may be, to a family, we need pictures.
We want to make sure that while she was working there, she wasn't actually producing any child pornography at the same time, because she had pretty much unlimited access to the children.
We didn't really think that she was in the production business. However, you really don't know until you rule things out.
No evidence was ever found to suggest Cox produced child pornography. After her first court appearance, Cox's mother, Michelle, said her daughter was sexually abused when she was young.
It goes a lot deeper than what people know.
She believed her daughter was searching for images of herself.
Based on what we found on her computer, that is not possible. That would require her looking for young females. Everything that was on her computer was prepubescent little boys.
In October, Cox was sentenced to 18 years in prison. She'll spend the rest of her life on the sex offender registry.
She is one of the more cold and calculating people I've run across. She had no remorse for what she did.
After a brief stint working in child exploitation, Pagan returned to the streets.
Having images pop up in my mind just randomly, and it just wasn't going to work for me.
The explicit imagery of infants, toddlers, and young children performing sex acts was too much to handle, day in and day out.
When you're looking at thousands and thousands of videos every day and having to decide whether or not, is this a minor, yes, no, then you have to watch them being, sexually abused, raped in the videos.
The one percenters stumped investigators. Concealed allegations of abuse left some feeling disgusted and some feeling deceived.
I really think it goes to hit home to say you can't trust anybody.
About 2 weeks before was when I started getting the signs and started really getting concerned.
Rita Dugan says it took too long for her to learn her daughter, Jessica Tice, was being threatened, stalked, and manipulated.
We thought we had everything in place to keep her safe, but like so many women know, little white pieces of paper don't matter.
For months, the mother of 3 lived in fear for her family's safety.
She bought pepper spray for me and her both. And I say now we took pepper spray to a gunfight, and we didn't even know he had a gun.
The alleged killer, convicted felon Jason Perry, is Tice's estranged ex-boyfriend. He's currently in the Gibson County Jail facing life without parole if convicted. Dugan says Perry stalked the family the day of her daughter's murder, following them to a Princeton restaurant. They were celebrating her grandson's 8th grade graduation.
She was very strong. That day she broke down 4 times. And she was that afraid of losing one of her boys or losing her life or losing me. We just didn't even know he was around. The police came in and told him to go away, to leave us alone, stay away from us. And when we went out that door, we looked all over for his truck. It was no place to be found.
Thinking it's safe, the family leaves.
And then we're talking 1 minute and boom, she's gone.
Perry gunned down Tice in front of her mother and her son in broad daylight. Her mother believes Tice's final words saved her son's life.
Run, Logan, run. That was all she said.
Dugan now cares for her 3 grandsons. She's taking it upon herself to break the silence harbored by so many women like her daughter, in hopes it will save another's life.
Yes, Jesse, that little light of yours will continue to shine. Stay wrapped in God's arms. I would like to close by saying thank you to the Lord for letting me have the joy of being her mother.
Somewhere in this pond, there is healing. Behind each petal, a person living through grief, praying for courage to outmatch tomorrow.
This is for you, Jess.
City of Evansville is going to get that downtown convention hotel after all.
Yeah, city council members voted unanimously tonight to authorize bonds be used to build the hotel. Kayla Moody is live in Evansville at the site of that future building.
This dark, empty lot is often called an eyesore, but come January, you can expect a lot of action to take place here. That's when groundbreaking is expected to start on the downtown convention hotel following tonight's 9-0 vote by Evansville City Council. But it certainly was a bumpy ride getting to this point.
It's a win-win for everybody. with that, I vote yes.
Councilman Weaver.
Hell yeah.
A unanimous approval. Some votes packed with a little more punch than the rest.
Ordinance G 2013-14 amended is hereby what? Declared adopted. Thank you.
It's a decision months in the making. The embattled proposal for a downtown convention hotel was in the middle of an intense tug-of-war battle just 1 week ago.
You know, a week ago we were on live support. I think it's clear that the infusion of private sector funding is the key that got us over the goal line.
Last week, 6 of the 9 council members were expected to vote against the hotel, but Evansville Mayor Lloyd Winnecke offered major concessions, causing a change of heart.
Everyone had separate issues, but the universal issue was that we weren't willing to bond that amount of money and put that burden on the taxpayer. When we were able to negotiate a much lower subsidy for the public, then we all had to compromise too.
Many council members say the game changer was the $11.5 million pledged by a group of private investors.
When a CEO of Old National Bank calls you and tells you that they're going to contribute this type of money, you know it has to be a win-win situation.
It makes the decision a lot easier.
You know, tonight we can finally say we're getting a hotel.
After years of failed attempts, it appears this hotel is the dream that will turn into a reality.
Do I still have concerns about the size and sustainability of the hotel? I do. But at what is really a $16.5 million subsidy by the city of Evansville, you know, I'm willing to take the risk.
You can't always make people happy, but I say tonight we made everyone happy.
The final amount of public investment is $16.5 million for the city, $3.5 million for the county. That brings the total amount of public investment to $20 million. Reporting live from the future side of the downtown convention hotel, Kayla Moody, Eyewitness News.
I woke up one morning with a bad cold. That was May 11th. When I woke back up, it was July 7th.
In May 2012, Alan Stone's life was forever changed. He slipped into a lengthy coma. When he woke up, he was paralyzed from the neck down.
I was on a ventilator, fighting for my life every day.
The father of 4 was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome. It's rare, but curable.
Last Christmas, I didn't even know I'd be here.
But what a difference 1 year can make. A ventilator makes talking difficult, and movement is still a struggle. But Stone says he's confident he will someday walk, breathe, and hold his children with ease.
That's where I'm at, enjoying probably the best Christmas I've ever had.
Stone will spend Christmas inside a Princeton, Kentucky rehabilitation center. But from floor to ceiling, his room is overflowing with holiday cheer.
I've got one Christmas card, so I need a bunch more.
He and his brother made a YouTube video playfully asking for 200 cards to beat the 150 cards he received while undergoing treatment in Louisville last Christmas.
I had no idea it would get like it did.
775 cards later, he's humbled by the outpouring of support sent from as far as Hawaii.
It gives me a reason to keep going on my therapy, to keep fighting every day. And I know they're just Christmas cards, but to me it's a lifeline to a whole lot of people.
With every open card, Stone says he's reintroduced to the most important part of Christmas.
If you don't have love, you don't have anything anyway.